My name's Adrian. Welcome back to the first week of the September kit. If you haven't been with us before, we have made all of these video guides for all these projects. And for the month of September, we are ready to get started today. Now, this month's patterns will consist of, we've got these 4 glosses here. They've got kind of this reddish white streaky gloss and with some orange in it. We've got a white gloss, which is a water gloss texture. We've got the black smooth, so there's no texture on this one. And we've got the green and white streaky smooth also. Hey Bobby, thanks for joining. Welcome back here. And let me know if you can hear the audio well. It looks like on my end everything should be working out. All right, so these are the 4 glosses that we are going with for this month. And we are trying out the patterns a little bit bigger, so bear with me. This is still a bit of a testing for these bigger patterns. I want to make sure we have enough glass to actually do them. But for today, we are going to get started. So we've got, for this month, we've got the penguin, we've got the watermelon, we've got a flower here, and for today's project, we have the cardinal. So we are going to get started here with that. Now, of course, the first thing we're going to want to do is to put on our apron so we can protect our nice, got our Cavallini stained glass shirt here. So, I like this one. This is probably my favorite one that we've made so far. The Cut, Solder, Shine, Repeat. And we've got the little stained glass man in there. But we are going to get on our apron to make sure that we protect our clothes, of course. And we're pretty much ready to get started here. So for today, we are going to, I'm going to mark out which direction I want for all of my glass to be. And we're going to be doing the white glass over here in the background. We're doing all the red gloss in the cardinal. And we have a little piece of black glass right there. And then we're going to do a little bit of green glass kind of towards the bottom, sort of kind of an abstract of trees. And with the white above, it's kind of an abstract of sky. And honestly, what I think we are going to go ahead and do is maybe we'll just do it all in green, all of the background in green. So then it kind of looks like the cardinal is sort of inside of some, you know, foliage and trees and stuff like that. And hey, Homemade, thanks for joining. That's a great pattern bundle. Yeah, it looks like a fun set of projects for this month. So we are going to go ahead and get started here. I think we're going to do them all sort of horizontally, these greens in the background. So we're going to go ahead and get started placing all of our patterns onto our glass. So we'll get to peeling our vinyl templates. And we do have a nice right angle here. So we are going to try to use 2 of the cuts, potentially. I think we're just going to try to use 1 of the straight edges here, because the glass is not a perfect right angle. You know, perfectly square at the edges. Just not a big deal. We just want to make sure that we don't, you know, have a little misalignment with our glass. Just want to get it as close as we possibly can. So we're just going to peel and stick to our glass like we always do. And we're going to want to really try to be cognizant of where we are cutting the glass. We want to have as little kind of lost glass as possible. course, I am, like I said, trying this out with the new size of the patterns, and hopefully everything will work out properly with the single sheet of glass per kit, single piece of glass, each glass per kit. Just want to make sure I do my best to really be as efficient as possible with it. And let's see here, how are we looking? It's going to be a little bit tricky. I don't want to waste a lot of glass here. I'm going to replace this bigger piece. And in this particular panel, we're doing the, it's a square. So that is going to be setting us up for some different hanging or mounting methods, I call it. Hey, Mary, thanks for joining. Welcome back. And so we're going to want to keep that in mind when we get all the way to the end. You could mount this inside a little picture frame. You could put hooks, 2 hooks, one on each corner, something like that. That's probably what we're going to end up doing today. And I just wanted to kind of give that a shot, show y'all a different, that you can do something like that. And now that I kind of rearranged where that one piece was, we're getting a much better yield now. So that is a relief. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure to get as good of a yield as you possibly can. Now this first pattern has pretty much knocked out almost half of this green glass. So we're going to want to be very careful when we are cutting it. Okay, so we've got our green set. And now we are ready. We've got a little piece of black right here. With a little, oh no, I'm sorry, actually, the black is sort of underneath the beak. It's like in the neck area. That's kind of typically what the cardinals look like. So we're just going to put a little piece of that. We could just kind of put it in the corner somewhere, just trying to use it as efficiently as we can. And then we've got a bunch of the reddish glass we need. Now right here is the side we're going to be using, and we're going to try to get kind of an orange part for the beak, and the rest we're going to want mostly red. So that is kind of what we are going for here. So I'm going to put this little piece way over here in the corner where I have a lot of orange. And then on this right side I have a little bit more red. So we're going to give that a shot. And we're just going to kind of get it as well as we can. Again, we want to save as much glass as possible. And I think these patterns I made on this run are a little bit too big. Still going to be the same exact pattern, it's just a scale for these number of glasses. But we're going to see it. We're going to get down to it. I'm going to probably have a few extra sheets on hand just in case, because I know the watermelon's going to need a decent bit of red and green. The little flower petal, you know, the green stem and all that, it's going to need a little bit of green there too. So we're going to have to maybe juggle the size around a little bit. But at least we'll have a good idea from the videos as far as the video guide. I'm going to try to get this. I think something like that should work. There we go. And now we've got all of our vinyl adhered. Hey, Josephine, thanks for joining. So we're going to kind of set this aside for the moment, and we are going to get to cutting the glass. So we're going to go ahead and switch to our free camera here. And I'm going to get this white glass out of the way. We don't need any of that. And we are going to get out our glass cutter. There we go. Hey, Mary Beth, thanks for joining. We're going to kind of set this aside. And we want to start to cut down. We're trying to separate the pieces right now from all of the neighboring pieces. So we don't want to be tearing up a lot of our glass trying to separate these. So we are going to take our cutter, and we want to kind of stay close to our glass here with a consistent, even pressure. Hey, Connie, thanks for joining. And we're just going to want to kind of separate this just like that, so we can save the rest of this glass for our watermelon coming up. And the other projects that we have, set that aside. Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot we have this little beak right here in the corner in this orange spot. I'm going to try to get that separated. Oops, and it's got a little sticker on the back side. I'm going to replace that into a different spot. I like to try to keep these stickers on here. See this one right here? Because it will tell me what the glass is in case you want to reorder it. Put that aside for now. Grab our black glass. Tap that through. Grab our green glass. This is another one we're going to want to be really careful with. Probably going to cut this piece off like this first. Something like that. We'll get one cut here. Then we'll separate this one, and we'll kind of separate these independently. So again, just kind of taking my time here. I'm going to switch to the overhead. You might have a better idea of what's going on here. I'm kind of looking through. I can see that crack start to form where it separates on that score line. So I'm just kind of looking back and forth, tapping through pretty carefully. And you don't know if you can see that. You can kind of see it starting to form right here. So that's kind of what I'm trying to tap through. And this will give us the best chance of it separating the way we want. See that? So that's exactly what we wanted. And then we can kind of separate these two from that. So So we're going to continue on. I'm going to go ahead and grab the table brush and kind of make a little bit of a nice work area right here. A lot of debris will start to accumulate, some glass debris. Now I'm going to go ahead and just separate this piece since we already did one of the cuts. And I'm just going to cut along that line. We'll go ahead and tap this through. Just like that. And then we've got this piece. What I'm probably going to try to do is just kind of do a straight cut along the side and then bring it kind of sharply down. Save all this glass right here. So I'll start right here on this edge. Bring it up nice and steady, and then kind of a sharp turn. Trying to save as much glass as I can. There we go. So we can put our green glass aside. Hopefully we don't have any breaks here. And I do think I'm going to probably recut these patterns in a little bit of a smaller size, because I think this one might be a little bit too big. Okay, there we go. Got that one separated, and we've got one more to separate here for the green glass. Then we're going to go ahead and switch to the free camera here, get a little bit of a better angle. Okay. There we go. Go ahead and tap this one through. There we go. And now we're ready to start separating our red glass for the cardinal's body. I'm going to try to probably cut this one along the line here, bring it straight through, and then reconnect it. Take this one off first. And this is when we've got kind of an inside curve here. We're going to want to definitely do the few step downs, trying to do our best not to break that piece. And we are going to want to separate these again, catching one of our pattern edges on the way. There we go. And now we've got everything separated, so we are ready to start cutting. We're going to do all of our scoring at once, and then we will do all of the breaking with the grosers. So sometimes I'll like to push with my the hand that I'm not holding the glass with. I'll kind of push with my thumb, kind of just pushing it along, give it a little bit more force. Helps me keep it a little bit steadier if I can just focus with my cutting hand on the actual staying on the right pattern. And then with my other hand I can kind of use it to just push with a little bit of force. There we go. That one's ready. This is the one we're going to do a few extra little step downs. It's just going to make it a little bit easier for us. There we go. Whenever you're cutting these curves, you're going to swing your elbow kind of left and right to get that nice smooth curve. And this particular project, it's got quite a few curved pieces. There are a few straight lines. Overall, not too bad of a project as far as difficulty. The curves are pretty gentle, nothing too crazy. So far, I think the only really inside radius that might be a problem is that one red piece, and I think when you see you do a few extra little step downs, it's not too bad. Here's another one. We'll probably going to do something similar right here with this piece, because it's just going to make it a little bit easier when the time comes. Definitely going to kind of cut it straight. And we already cut two of the edges when we were separating the glass, so that's a little bonus. And if you're off the line a little bit, we're just going to go back and grind them down. So it's not the end of the world if it's not perfect the first time. Kind of a lot of room for error when you've got a grinder around. Of course, you want to do your best. It's going to be a little bit easier in the long run if you've got all the pieces the right size to begin with. But it's nothing to stress over. Got our little beak right here. And Mary Beth, I use the pistol grip. The head of the scoring tool is not completely straight. It's supposed to be that way. I think that what you're saying is the cutter tip, it's like probably bent, the part where it goes onto. You know, like this is pretty much straight in line with the handle. And I think what you're saying is that this part is kind of bent a little bit like this. It has a little cylinder that the cutter head attaches to. And that piece is probably bent, probably from pushing on it so much, and maybe even pushing on it not perfectly straight up and down. If you push at it kind of at an angle, it's going to have a little bit more force to bend that. So that, I think, is what happened. That is not, definitely not normal. Like, it probably didn't come that way, is my guess. I'd be surprised if it did. You could probably try to bend it. And, I mean, if you're able to work with it as is, then it's not a problem, but it's probably abnormal, I think. If I'm kind of understanding what you're saying. All right, there we go. Got all of our pieces scored, so we're going to bust out our 2 pairs of Grosiers. And if you should get another one, honestly, that would be dependent on you. If you feel like you can still work with it as is, then I would say no. But if you feel like it is hindering you, then you might want to consider it. And you might want to try one out, just in case. See if maybe it'll be a little bit easier for you. It might help you make better cuts and stuff like that. So you might want to consider it, I think. For me, since I've got access to all the tools, I would probably get one. But if it doesn't really bother you and you're able to still do the projects to your liking, or you don't think it's hindering you at all, then maybe I wouldn't worry about it in that case. But personally, I would probably get a different one. So again, we're just going to break this glass right on our score line. And then any little bit of glass left over outside of our pattern, we can take care of on the grinder. There we go. There we go. Next piece. So far, so good. So I use these Grosier pliers. I use the flat part of the Grosier on the top, and then the curved part on the bottom kind of gives you a little bit of leverage when you are kind of sort of doing a pivoting motion on that scored line. And especially with these inside curves, you just want to kind of take it slow. Sometimes I'll start at one end, kind of do a little bit of separation, replace to the end, and then, go back. Now, Mary Beth, asking if she should get a replacement head. You know, the thing is, I'm not sure if the head is actually the problem. I think it might actually be the handle. You know, the little cylinder that the head attaches to sounds like it might be bent, is my guess. You know, if that head is bent, it's probably, you know, the head is just going to sit on top of whatever that cylinder is doing. That's a part of the handle. So if that cylinder is kind of bent, then the head will just kind of follow suit. I don't think, you know, it'd be very difficult to bend this part, to bend the actual head itself. But what this set screw is secured to, that's probably the bent part. Hey, Michael, thanks for joining us. All right. Getting our beak here all down to size. And this piece is a little bit off. I'm going to go ahead and take care of most of that on the grinder. You can grows away a little bit of glass. It'll kind of leave a bit of a rougher edge, but we are going to be grinding, so that is not a big deal. So again, we're just removing all of our little pieces that we scored down here. Go ahead and put this over into our little pile. Go ahead and move this a little bit closer here. Oh, and we actually, we got a little bit of a nick there where it came off a little bit off our score line. We were trying to get it like this, ended up going the whole way. I think we're going to be okay like that. Let me check where this is. Yeah, it's kind of in the corner. We're going to keep that because I don't want to lose the rest of my green glass. And we're going to kind of fill that with a little bit of extra solder. Right here is what I'm talking about, which will not be the end of the world. And then next week for the subsequent projects, I'm going to scale these down a little bit, these projects, and the but they're still going to be a little bit bigger than we had them in the past. I think these are about twice the size. I think we need to drop it down to about maybe 50% bigger, not 100% bigger. And I think we might be in a little bit better shape as far as the glass requirement for each project. There we go. We're going to kind of pop this down little by little into this inside curve. See that? And just want to be really careful here as much as we can. That's what we want to see. We don't want to be breaking through it. We just want to barely snip away a little bit of that. There we go. Now this one I'm going to probably, I'll start from this spot. Okay, good. So that kind of created two separate pieces. And I can easily separate them from there. We've got a few little mountains right there, little mountain top pieces. We're just going to grind all that down. We've got one more piece here to separate. And then we are ready to begin grinding all of our pieces down. Just kind of working our way around this curve. kind of look it back over, see if there's any of these pieces that we can still get down a little bit further. There we have it. And now we are pretty much ready to get some grinding done. And Mary Beth mentioned, saw some of the shorts on Facebook. Oh, awesome. Did you? Let me know what you thought about those. I know that the Facebook ads can get a little bit annoying, but it's been a pretty good route for us to get some sales. So we're probably going to keep running those ads there. But yeah, let me know what you thought about them. Try to be a little bit comedic with it this time. Doing some funny stuff. Trying to, anyway. Be a little bit funny about it. Okay. Go ahead and bring our grinder out here. Go ahead and get some water into our sponge here. Get this into the right spot. It's a pretty good spot. Make sure we've got a little bit of water here. Now I like to just have a water bottle with a little hole poked in there, and I just kind of squirt it into the little sponge here, and then I have it for whenever I need it. Now I do like to keep a little bit of a barrier right here. Try to keep all that debris from splattering my other tools. And Michael asked, where do you put the, where do you dispose of your shards/scraps? I really don't want to put them in the trash. Well, Michael, I personally put them in the trash because I got too much of it. You can use them for mosaics if you want. But yeah, that's normally where I put them. And Mary Beth, I thought they were good when they threw the box and hit you. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny too. Yeah, just trying to get some good attention around all that, trying to make some people laugh, and maybe they'll check out the site. That is the idea. Now, after I get my the piece all the way down to the white template here, I like to do another round of grinding. Just trying to really make sure I get all that, or actually to make sure that they fit properly. That's really what I want to do. And these pieces are a little bit big for our glass bath. See, we've got just this little cup here. So that might not work so well unless I fill it pretty much all the way up. So I think I'm going to go grab some more water. I'll be right back. Okay, we've pretty much got our cup here full of water. So as the pieces get grinded, we are going to put them into there. And that's just going to keep all the glass dust from really solidifying on the glass, which is what we want to avoid, of course. It can be a little bit harder to clean if that does happen. Not the end of the world, but just a little bit less than ideal. So we're just taking that down until we get all the way to our vinyl pattern. There we have it. All right. Take this off, put it into our little bath here. Try to keep all that from solidifying. And Mary asked if I cut the black piece. I did. It is. I ended up getting that one down pretty easily. Just snapped it. Kind of got lucky on that one, probably. And as always, if you have any questions, be sure to ask them. I'll answer and possibly do some live demonstrations. Oh, and I did want to say too, I believe Mary Beth Massey, I believe you won the last month's giveaway on the school community, on the Stained Glass Master community. If you will check your messages there, I needed to get your email to send you the gift card. So if you'll check that, Mary Beth, I'll get that sent to you. And this black piece, it's kind of the neck, kind of a common piece, a common spot that they have on their little necks, those birds. There we go. Drop this into our little bucket. Got a big green piece here. I don't think this one's gonna fit in there. We might have to just clean this one up. Now I am wondering if y'all think it would be a better idea to have smaller patterns and the same amount of glass, or bigger patterns like we are using today, and the kit just costs a little bit more and comes with more glass. I could double up the glass requirement. And I'm just a little hesitant because there might be times where we only need one sheet. So maybe I'd be interested to know what y'all think would be better. Keep the patterns a little bit smaller so we can get away with a single sheet? Or would it be worth it to buy more sheets for a little bit bigger patterns? That would be kind of what I'd be curious about. All right, got this piece. Go ahead and do a little bit more. And then if we cannot put this into our little glass bath, which I don't believe we will be able to, we are going to clean it up right now. Yeah, it's going to be too big. See, it's not really fitting in there. So I'm just going to kind of take the piece here, and I'm just going to spray it with a little bit of blue glass cleaner. Nothing too fancy. Just want to get this thing all cleaned up and ready to be foiling. I don't want it to get all crusty and all that. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. I like to have this microfiber cloth that helps a lot with getting the little glass particles. Seems like it works better than just a rag, any old rag. And Mary prefers to have the one sheet. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is maybe just try to make them a little bit bigger then, so we can still get away with that one sheet. And that's kind of what I was leaning towards, because it will get quite a bit more costly to have to get two sheets, which I think we're going to want to avoid. Okay, let me just move this over here. And I'm going to start putting these pieces on here, at least the ones that I've cleaned, like the one I just cleaned right now. And that way, I'll have a spot for it. We've got a few more pieces over here to get grinded down. These pieces are a little bit bigger, so it takes a little bit longer to grind everything down. There we go. Starting to look, it might be a little bit dry here. Get a little bit more water on there. All right, we'll do one more pass. We peel this up. This one might be a little bit too big too. We're probably going to go ahead and use this one with the blue glass cleaner too. Might have to get a little bit of a bigger bucket for some of these pieces. Just going to really drench this thing in some glass cleaner. I think that'll be a little bit easier to get it all cleaned up nicely. Now when you go to actually do the foiling here, you're going to want to make sure that it is fully dry and no debris. That's why we take a decent bit of time to clean everything up. Pretty much as well as we can. Okay, get this down onto our pattern here. And we will continue on. Oops, I'm going to go ahead and take this one off. Oh, these are a little bit loose here. I'm going to have to grab my little Allen wrench. I don't know where I've got one. Hopefully this will get us through. Just got a little bit more to grind here. Got about 3 more pieces. I'll have to remember to make sure to do that before next week. I think I'll leave that in there like that. A little bit of a technical difficulty today. Kind of an unusual situation. This thing came loose. Both of them came loose, actually. Kind of weird. But we will get it situated. Hopefully I don't need to... I might actually need to get this situated before. It's getting a little bit too low for me to use it down there. So what I'm going to have to do is find a quick Allen wrench. I think I've got one right around here. Aha! I found one. Let's see if this will do. Ah, it will. Just barely the right size. All right. A little bit of a technical difficulty, but we can move past that. There we go. Probably be a good idea to keep that one around here. All right, much better. Never know what can happen during the live stream. There we go. Next piece. I think we've got one more piece. Almost made it through without needing a little adjustment there. But we are flexible. We can overcome anything that comes our way. There we go. Oh, good. I'm glad you like this. You don't mind seeing that there, Bobby. I appreciate that. All right. There we go. That will be our last piece to grind down. We are ready to start cleaning them all up now. So I'm going to get this grinder out of the way. And I've got this cup of water just full to the brim here. Just going to flip this piece, try to loosen up some of that glass dust. And then we're going to get right back to it and drying all this off, removing all that debris as we go. And then when we actually go to do the foiling, we're going to check kind of as we go, looking at those edges, just trying to make sure there really is nothing on there. It's only going to help us out. Get this onto our paper. See if I can get this pattern over here into the view. There we go. Now what I do want to try to do is to avoid getting a lot of the water that kind of drips off here onto our pattern. So I'm going to kind of clean it over here off to the side. And I think that will get us taken care of here. So we've got a lot of greenery all around our cardinal, kind of hidden in the brush for this particular pattern. Kind of like all this green glass all the way around. It's pretty cool. And all of the sort of orientation is coordinating because we kind of planned that when we drew these lines here. So this is that piece. Kind of see that orientation for the glass streaks be in the same direction. And you can do it however you want. You can do them in a random direction. You can do them alternating. I personally just kind of wanted to do them all sort of horizontally. Kind of like a tree growing out horizontally is kind of the idea there. But again, that is definitely a personal preference type thing. And we are putting these all on here. We are going to try to check and make sure before we do the foiling that no additional grinding needs to be done. It's kind of a pain if you have to unfoil the piece, grind it down, and then refoil it. So that's why I like to check. And yes, yeah, Mary, I think it's going to be pretty too. I'm kind of really enjoying this one for sure. It's a little bit bigger than the others, which I do like. Bobby, I can't find my plastic fid, so I'm using a popsicle stick. Works pretty well. Yeah, that might work pretty well. They might wear down a little bit faster, might think. But yeah, it's good to use whatever you've got. Josephine, doing my very first piece, and it's sunflowers. So many small pieces, I don't know what I was thinking. I wish I would have found you first. Oh, appreciate that, Josephine. Yeah, just take your time, little by little, and try not to get too frustrated. As one of my good friends and mentors would say, don't let it win. So that's something I think about often. Whenever I start to get a little bit frustrated, I think to myself, don't let it win. So maybe try that one out. If you are starting to feel a little bit frustrated, I'm liking the way this reddish gloss is looking. Very happy with that. But yeah, Josephine, we've got a few other projects with videos. In fact, I can show you. Do I have them up here? Oh, here they are. Let's see. This is probably one of the first ones I would recommend, something like that. Something like this is good. It's all straight pieces. And this is another secondary one. It's got mostly straight pieces, pretty gentle curves. And then from there, you know, it can get kind of all sorts of different projects. So, but if you can do the sunflower, you know, you can do the harder ones too. So that is a plus if you can get through that one. Get our little cardinal here. Really coming together. Oh, a little bit too much water there. Let's see if I can get something out of there without overflowing it. Got another piece. Sort of making a little bit of a mess here. I'm going to move my pattern. It doesn't really matter. This is sort of a work table anyway. I might grab a little rag just to clean it up a little bit. There we go. That'll do. All right. Actually, we are just about done with our grinding here, given that everything's going to fit together really perfectly, which so far I think we're okay. We're going to do a little inspection before we move on, just so you know I'm not playing around here. So I want to make sure everything really fits together nicely. See if I can get something out of here. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm going to get a little bit of a bigger bucket. Just have to find a nice clear bucket that would work. I mean, the water, it gets so cloudy from all the glass dust that that's why a lot of that stuff would be really caked on by this point. So that's why I really like to kind of, you know, I started doing it one day and I really like to do that. To just keep all those grinded pieces in the water like that. Yeah, I'm liking this panel. It's a nice little piece here. The red cardinal, it's one of my favorite birds. And it's actually one of the first gifts I gave to my wife was a red cardinal stained glass, believe it or not. Now that I think about it, I actually completely forgot about that until right now. And we've still got it somewhere over there. So that's a good one that I like. Okay, I'm going to try this off just a little bit, and then we can kind of see what we are working with. I'm liking the way this came out. Move this. See if I can get these pieces a little bit tighter. And I see the one mistake I had made earlier, but it's not the end of the world, and we are going to press on despite that mistake. and it'll just have a little bit of extra solder, which is not the end of the world. Less than ideal? Yes. The end of the world? No. So that is okay. Okay, we can do a quick inspection here. So we can see this is that one spot where that little piece kind of snapped wrong. The rest of it fits together pretty well. And once it's got the little solder all around it, I think it's going to look really good too. And, oh yeah, I think that isn't the female, it's like a different color, right? Something, or the male's a different color or something like that. Yeah, I have to look into that. Forgot about that. With the different colors, the cream one. It's like, yeah, it's like kind of a creamish color, from what I remember. Okay, so we're going to be using the black backing today. We're going to pull out a little bit and snip it down. And then we're going to get to our foiling here. So I'm going to move this to the side, bring out the foiler. I've got a little bit of a watery mess here, not the end of the world. The red is male, that's right. Okay, let's see if I've got a good spot here. There we go, I think that might work. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take the piece, just do a quick little look through, make sure we don't have anything too crazy. See something like this? You don't want that. You want to just wipe that away. It's going to make the foil have a hard time to adhere to that. And then we can just get started. And this piece is actually a little bit wet, that's why it's not sticking to it. So this microfiber cloth that I'm holding onto here, it's got a little bit of wetness to it. I wonder if I've got another one around here. Let's see. All right, believe it or not, I do have another one right here. So we got lucky once again. I'll try to keep the area pretty well stocked here. So this one, it's a little bit drier. It'll have a little bit of an easier time adhering, of course, if that glass edge is dry, which is what we want. So I'm going to snip off that spot. It's a little bit contaminated there. And we're going to go ahead and get to it. Stick that on. Make sure the edge is well adhered. Pull it through, kind of pushing it down into the edge of that foil. And let's see what's going on here. I'm going to take this off for a second. It's like I'm having a little bit of a issue here. Okay, there we go. There we go. Not sure why I was a little bit off-centered. No, I've got it right on. And with the bigger pieces, this foiler really makes quick and easy work of applying that foil. I'm going to just pull this out a little bit, snip it off, and overlap it. There we go. And then whenever I get to these sort of curved areas, I like to use the fid here, and I like to just kind of gradually push it down. And I've had some really good luck with that. Instead of just kind of forcing it down, sometimes you can just make a little rip in there, which is definitely less than ideal. And then I'll just continue on with my finger, kind of pushing the foil in a zipper motion all the way up. And then when you get back to the corner, you can kind of fold the next side over. That's how I like to do it. Comes out pretty good. So we'll set this aside for the burnish. For the burnisher, we're going to kind of just check this out. Everything looks pretty good. So we will push it into our foiler here. And of course, if you don't have a foiler like this, it doesn't mean you can't do projects. You just have to do them by hand, which is not a big deal. But to save time here, I like to use this one, or else we'll be here a lot longer than the scheduled 2 hours. Okay, what is going on here? Something. There we go. And I'm actually noticing this glass, it's got a little bit of a varying thickness. I think just from the factory, occasionally something like that can happen. And this green glass, it has it just a little bit, I'm noticing. Which is still doing a pretty good job with a foiler. With centering it up pretty much right on. So that I'm still pretty happy with. And this is a pretty gradual inside curve, so nothing I feel like I need the fid for. As far as this initial kind of fold over. And that will do. Set this aside, ready for burnishing. Do a quick look through. Put our piece into our foil here. And sometimes I might push it out of the little centering thing here. I just open it back up and put it in there. And continue where you left off. And there you have it. Now this one we got away with too. This inside curve. I'm always kind of thinking, especially the first thing I think of when I look at these inside curves like this is, do I need the fid? And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get away with it. All right, there we go. Next piece. Oops, got a little bit of a something happened there. I'll restart this one. I like to fold over the starting point. That way we can make a little bit of contact, pull it out, and cut it down. Make sure we have a nice little overlap. Go ahead and cut that off. Using quite a bit of foil on this particular project. It's got a lot of many linear inches of foil here. Now this one I think I am going to use the fid for this inside curve. Kind of do that one over just like that. Same thing this side. There you have it. We'll get to burnishing here in a moment, of course. There we go. Pretty straightforward process here that we're doing. Kind of the same thing over and over until we get all our pieces finished up. Oh, good, Josephine. I'm glad that you're learning a little bit about, yeah, trying to make it a little bit easier, especially on those curves. They will get you. They'll just break right through. It's a really weak point of that glass. So it's the kind of the most common spot where it will just break right through your salvage piece. There we go. Another piece. It's kind of the most complicated cut right here, this little black part on the neck area. Tell you what, with the pieces this size, they are a little bit easier to do the cutting and everything. Take up a little bit more material, but just a little bit easier to do. Which maybe seems contrary to popular belief that if it's bigger it might be harder. But no, the smaller pieces are just kind of harder for your hands to grab onto, stuff like that. And when they're a little bit bigger, it's just a tiny bit easier. Not that we didn't do, gosh, probably 20 projects with the tiny pieces. But I think we're going to probably get back to those smaller ones after this one. It's just going to consume way too much glass. It's going to be hard to do the number of projects that we like to do here. see. Pretty big piece right here. Just running it through. All right. Get this one all. There we go. Getting all that foil folded down nicely. Nice even reveal both sides. Hard to beat, hard to compete with something like this for the quality of the foil and the time it took. We're gonna have a lot of burnishing to do on this one. All right, this is our last piece of foil here. And probably I personally feel like the most tedious part is the burnishing. It is a whole lot of kind of the same thing. It's not necessarily hard, it's just a little bit tedious, at least from my point of view. A little bit extra, couple areas here. In the corners of this one I seem to have did a little bit of damage. Get that one burnished down, then we'll cut it with the blade, kind of make it look really nice and smooth there. Let's see, looks like the other side's okay. All right. There we have it. So I'm going to keep the foiler around, but now we really need to get to the burnishing. So right here is our pile of foiled pieces. Going to set our pattern to the side here. Use quite a bit of foil. See all the backing we've got here. Pretty substantial amount. Get this over to the side. Now let's see if we can kind of try to keep this area free from too much debris. Probably will work right here. It's a little bit drier in this spot. Okay. And then as we go along, we are going to place our pieces onto our pattern here. And that'll be kind of where we do our first tack soldering and into the, then we can get that pattern out of the way too. So when I like to burnish, I like to do the edges first and then the faces. And once you do one side, go to the other. Same thing. And then I'm going to go ahead and place it onto my pattern, right where I believe it's supposed to go. And we'll move on to the next one. So again, edges first, all the way around, and then the face. Try not to do it too hard. You're going to potentially damage it, damage the foil, but you want to kind of smooth that foil down to the edge of that glass, little by little. There we go. Make sure to do both sides. I think I already did this side. I'm going to go ahead and just go over one more time. Then we can place it where it's supposed to go. Looking pretty good so far. It always looks pretty nice with that shiny copper. But alas, it does not hold together in this way, so we do have to still solder it. Got the little torso of the bird here. Pieces are fitting together pretty nicely. Go ahead and do all the red pieces first. Seem to be the most fun compared to the rest. And we are using a nice smooth glasses here, so they're pretty easy to foil compared to some of the textured glasses. You have to take a little bit more time. Make sure you don't accidentally rip the foil on all the ridges and edges of all that texture. Whereas here you can kind of be a little bit more forceful with it, and it works out pretty well. And this will be the last part of our little bird. And then all we've got is our greenery all around it. All right. Pretty much got our piece, our bird. Oh, and we do have a little bit of a mistake here. If you have a little bit of a overlap, it's not quite right. I'll show you over here on the closed camera. See this spot right here, the overlap is not quite perfect. We can just get the X-Acto blade and just trim that down, just like that. And then it will look a little bit better. There we go. Got the bird part done so far. And now we just got to get the greenery. And then we'll be ready to solder. So overall, this piece really isn't too bad as far as the difficulty. We do have a little bit more trimming to do down here. I had a little repair in that corner. Have to trim that down. Just going to try to follow the edge of those adjacent foils. There we go. Oh, I forgot we have to do it on this side too. Do the same thing. I'll even kind of continue it. There we go. Now I like to do this after I burnish, so that way the foil is not moving around when I'm trying to cut it with the blade. So if you have that problem, burnish it first. All of the edges first, back down to the face. Nice and smooth. And the reason why we do the burnishing is because if you don't, you can get some flux and other stuff up underneath that foil, and then it's kind of a real issue. So that's why you want to make sure to take your time, get everything cleaned up well and burnished well. Set you up for success on the soldering. And this spot, it's got a little bit of a chip in the glass here. I'm going to put a little extra foil on there. And then we'll cut that down. Get this all burnished right where we want it. Oops, just dropped my piece there. Thankfully caught it with my foot. Didn't have a mini disaster there, breaking our glass. So we got a little bit lucky. Just trim this down to size. We'll do a little bit more touch-up burnishing here. Just trying to push that foil down as much as we can. I think that will do. Oops, we need to cut this side still. There we go. So far everything's fitting together very nicely. Just little by little, going through, getting everything burnished. And anything you see in the foil is going to be translated into that solder. So right now is the time to fix anything that you see. Edges first, all the way around, and then the face. All right. And we've got one last piece to burnish, and then we are ready to start soldering. Let me go ahead and get my iron turned on. Get that heating up. Be ready for us by the time we're ready. And of course we've got our fume extractor. It's very important to have some good ventilation. And I've got an exhaust fan that leads to the outside of the structure here. So that's how I like to do it. You can have like a fan, you can do the soldering outside with a fan. Kind of draws the fumes away from you. You know, just make sure to do anything you need to get that stuff away from your lungs. Got a little bit of a spot right here we're going to want to trim down. All right. And there we go. We've got all of our pieces. I'm going to get them pretty much situated where I want them. And then get these out of the way. And then we're going to take a look to see how we did with our cutting and grinding and everything else. Now I personally like to pretty much have these all adjacent to one another. I don't really like to have a little floating area between them, personally. Just don't think it's quite as nice or necessary. So, about the way we've got it is the way I think we are going to do it. Take a quick look here. So everything looks really good, all the joints. This is the only spot really we made that little mistake. It's just gonna have a little bit of extra solder right there. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. So we're gonna go ahead and get to soldering. I like to wear some blue gloves, some blue nitrile gloves. And we're gonna turn on our little fume extractor here. Move everything out of the way. Make way for our fume extractor. I like to kind of keep it pretty much right here as close as I can get it. And we're going to want to kind of move camera so you can see. And we've got a lot of airflow there. I like to get on a couple pairs of blue gloves here. And let's see. I also like to put on, especially in my offhand, a pair of the heat-resistant gloves. And thank you, Connie, Josephine. I'm really liking the way it's coming out too. Mary mentioned looks like Christmas. It does a little bit. I get a little bit of that Christmas feeling too. Let's see. Well, we're gonna need some flux, of course. And I got the solder. I think I got everything I need. Gonna mix up this flux. Take our old. This brush has been with us for a while, as you can see. Honestly, it works just right with the bristle sort of at that angle. I can just put a little bit. Sometimes if I load it up a little heavier, I can just kind of drip it into place. And whenever these panels are a little bit bigger than the ones we normally do, it really stays in place really easily. So that's kind of a nice benefit when the panels are just a little bit bigger. There we go. So that will do. See if our iron is all heated up. What I like to do is grab a little wire brush and kind of just brush this thing off. Get it all cleaned up, ready for a good time here. Get this one all out of here. Now I've got this roll of 50-50. I normally prefer to use 60-40. But it is what it is on this round. Actually, I normally prefer to use the lead-free solder. But since this is what I got, that's what we're going to be using today. Now, it's a little bit harder to work with, but it will do the trick. And you might not be able to see, but anytime that little solder creates a little bit of a fume, it's kind of being directed right to our little thing here. And I'm going to actually move this thing a little bit more centered. And I'm actually having a little bit of a weird issue here with it popping up. We want it to be nice and flat. We don't want it to be three-dimensional. So I'm just going to put a little bit of downward pressure with my fingers here. Just put a little bit of solder on there. We're just trying to get this thing all tacked together. And I think that we pretty much got it. I'm going to go ahead and slip this pattern out from underneath. And this thing will kind of just stay where we want it. And now we're just going to go ahead and put a little bit more flux on here. I mean, it's pretty much fluxed up as much as we need, I think. I'm just going to put a little bit around the perimeter so that we can really tin that edge. Put a nice heavy tin on there, almost a bead if we can. It'll just make it a little bit easier when it comes time to edge bead. We're going to drip a little bit of extra solder right here because that's where our little spot was. And we're going to do that first so that it kind of has a chance to cool down a little bit. Because when we get to the other side, we're going to need to kind of touch it up at least a little bit there. And we're just going to want to really try to do a nice rounded bead here. Now we're probably going to have to touch this side up anyway because once we work on the other side, It's probably going to mess this site up a little bit, but there's no reason why we can't at least have a good foundation of some nice rounded beads here. We'll just take our time. There we go. There we go. And of course, if you are not familiar, this is a part of our Stained Glass Mastery community, where we have a community of like-minded artists that ask questions, post projects, and answer questions too. So it's a good place for stained glass artists to collaborate, and especially for beginners, if you've got some questions, and the people there are very helpful. And of course, we do a monthly giveaway of free stained glass gift cards to our stained glass supply store. All you have to do is interact in the community by liking, commenting, and posting. And then every month, the top 3 are awarded free gift cards to our online supply store. So if you're interested in that, I'll make sure to keep a link in the description where you can check all of that out. Now when you're doing these beads, you get to those sort of those joints that you tacked everything together. You just have to kind of move slowly through those, kind of make those molten. And sometimes when I've got everything warmed up, I'll go back and do another little pass. And if it starts to get really flat, sometimes you need to add a little bit of solder there. And just keep that solder going. And this is where we had that little void. And that's fine. We're going to leave that like that. And you see it pretty much disappears there. It's really not too bad right there. So again, we're going to need a little more solder. It's starting to look a little bit sunken in. There we have it. Kind of trying to move a nice consistent speed there. And sometimes you can go back and kind of tap a few little rough edges out. Now you have to keep in mind too, the more you mess with something, sometimes the worse it gets. So try not to be too adamant about going over and over and over again the same work. If it gets to be pretty good, then you're going to want to probably kind of move on. Because like I said, sometimes the more you mess with it, the worse it gets. And there is a such thing as kind of going over these too much. If you you know, you can start to burn that adhesive from the foil, and so that's, you know, less than ideal. It's hard for me to say exactly how hot or how much you would need to be going over this thing to do that, but just keep in mind that it's a possibility. And you can also crack the glass from the heat, just so you know. You're probably not going to want to go over it too many times the same exact spot. And I'm trying to put this on there pretty heavy on these edges. There we go. So we've got the front done, first coat anyway. Go to the back side, we've got a little bit of a vinyl template stuck on there. Where did you come from? This was this little piece right here that we did. Get this taken off. There we go. Okay. Go ahead and flux this up. And we are ready to solder this side already. Pretty fun project today. I really like this cardinal here. And really, you can kind of expand any of the projects we do to be into a square or rectangle shape like this. You just have to kind of cut, you know, the corresponding pieces, the right shapes, and you can do that too. So, on any of the projects that we've done, as you see, the vast majority of our projects are not in those shapes, but you can add a few pieces around it, and you can make all those into a rectangle or square if you want. If you want. Just something to consider. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go through this, try to do our best to really get a nice finish. Sometimes if you're working on the second side, you get a little bit of flux trapped in there, and it can start to bubble up, kind of like you're seeing this one do, like that. And you might have to just keep touching that up until it kind of all pops out. And you might want to consider wearing some safety glasses if you don't have an eye covering already, because it can, you know, it's sort of a volatile little situation. It's not a volcano by any means, but it is not a still lake either. It does have a little bit of activity going on. So you just want to plan for that. You've only got one set of eyes, so you're going to want to take care of them much as you possibly can there. And we are going to be putting a black patina on here today. And another thing is, if you do these panels in a square or rectangle, you can put a frame of zinc or lead around it. Much easier than if it is a curved, you know, on the edges. So just something to consider if you wanted to do that. You can convert any of the projects into a square or rectangle and go that route too. I personally kind of like the organic shapes behind each of the panels. But you know, this is kind of a cool thing too, to get a nice a nice shape around the perimeter. Oops, got my little roll of solder here. Just trying our best to do a nice beads here. We are planning to kind of do our finished coat on this side. So we're going to want to get it to the way we want it, because we're going to be wanting to move it on here pretty soon after we finish it. We don't really want to come back and have to touch up stuff on this side. The other side, the viewing side, you know, since it could be getting a little bit of squeeze through from this side, you know, when we heat up this side, it might melt the other side a little bit. We're going to want to touch that up anyway, because that is our viewing side after all. And when we do that, we're going to want to kind of not really conduct a lot of heat, because we don't want to interfere with this side that we're trying to finish up on this round of soldering right now. So that's just kind of the typical workflow that I tend to do. I tend to lean towards. I feel like it's kind of the most efficient way to get the best, you know, finished product. Keep going over this till we're happy with it. And don't forget, the more you mess it, sometimes the worse it gets. So we're just gonna really do our best. Now overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking on this side. Just going to touch up a few things here and there. And we, of course, also need to still do the edge beading. And we'll go ahead and put on our hanging wires once we do that edge beading. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of tinning around the perimeter. Just trying to leave that on there as heavy as I can. And you're going to see when we go to edge bead, it really makes a difference to have some material on there. Alrighty, got everything tinned. Gonna go ahead and put this on its edge and kind of tap our way through here. Now this is a little bit taller than normal. Okay, there we go, you can still see it. So what I like to do is I kind of set the solder up, kind of up like that, so I can grab a little bit if I need to. In this case, I think we got it pretty much heavy enough on here. Maybe I'll need a little bit right here in this corner. But for the most part, I think that we've kind of got enough to really, you know, make it look pretty good. And in this case, edge beading is insanely easy if it's on a nice flat surface like this. It's pretty much just like soldering one run of solder. So that is much easier than doing the kind of organic shapes where you have to kind of walk it around until you really get all of the right, you know, all the areas fully soldered. So this is kind of definitely a easier edge beading situation. So if you're having problems edge beading, maybe do some patterns like this first with the straight edges, and then you can go through and kind of try the, oops, scared me. Got a little bit of a solder droplet. That's why you really need these gloves, because actually it'll hit this thing, it'll just kind of bounce off the little droplet. It won't go through the fabric or through the little rubber, whatever. So definitely get yourself some heat resistant gloves is a minimum requirement. And thank you, Bobby. I think it turned out very nicely too. I'm pretty happy with it so far. And see, we've got so many droplets right here. Oops, see, I had another one right on my finger there. Oop, and another one. We've got so many droplets here that we don't even need to add more solder. We can just kind of use what we've got from the actual edge beading. And that's kind of the way I prefer to do it, much as possible. It makes a bigger difference when you are having to go back and kind of twisting the piece, and sort of whenever it's not perfectly flat like this one is. It's around the edges anyway. Okay, so we pretty much are about done with the soldering here. Edge beading was very simple. We of course need to kind of clean up a lot of the sometimes it'll sort of drip down from the edge onto the panel if it's got a lot of solder on there. So we do have a few little drip areas to remove. I think what I might even do is get my little X-Acto blade and see if I can just pluck them off. Because sometimes they look like they might be sticking, but they're just, it's like a very shallow, weak connection, and it's pretty easy to just pluck off with the little, see that? You can just kind of pluck all this stuff off. You can use X-Acto blade, you can try out the wire brush. Sometimes you can literally just rub it off with a rag. So just kind of play with it with the little drips that you've got. Sometimes it's on there pretty good. You need to solder it appropriately. So we're pretty much ready to get our little wire hangers on. So let's do just that. Got our wire here. I'm going to make 2 loops, and we are going to twist them braided cable style, like we do, just like this. So you want it to kind of have a little bit of a braided cable look. I'm going to snip this off. Got one right there. I'm going to do another one for the other side. And I might even redo this first one I did, because the second one came out much nicer. And in this case, I'm using an 18 gauge wire. Probably if I could go back, I would get a little bit of a heavier duty one, but this one definitely works. Okay, so what we want to do is, I'm going to put it kind of on the side here. So it's going to look something like this. I like to hold it with the grosiers and kind of try to put it right in line. Now this is the front side, so I'm going to want it to be on the back side. Something like this, about right there. And I am going to be using a patina today, but not until after we finish up with the little hooks here. So what I think really what I want to do is kind of edge beat it on there. I think that's going to be the best bet. So let's see if we can kind of grab a little bit of solder, and let's see if we can just at least tack it on there temporarily, like that. I might even get it a little bit further down. Let's see if it's going to hold. Okay, it's holding. I got a little bit of a tack there. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And actually, I'm going to put the hook the other orientation, where it's kind of in line, you know, the loop, where it's in line with the actual panel. There we go. Okay, now that I have this on the edge here, I'm going to kind of edge beat it on there to really smooth it out. Let's see if I can kind of show you here. See that? So we're going to want to, this is where we're going to have to grab a little bit of solder, and we're just kind of trying to drip it onto there and smooth that out as much as we can. We want to try to hide that little ridges of the little wire. And if you can prop this thing up and work on it, so you can kind of drop some extra solder on there, I think it's going to be making it a little bit easier for you. You might even have to put a little bit of flux on there. Just kind of preheat it a little bit, and then kind of try to drop it onto there. Much as you can. There we go. Got that first one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brush this iron tip off a little bit. See if we can give you a little bit of a better look here. So that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and kind of flatten the front and back of it just a little bit. Kind of blend that in much as I can, because we want it to, you know, not stick out too badly. But you got to hang it somehow, right? So then we're going to go ahead and flip this to the other side and do the exact same thing right here. Kind of heat it up a little bit, trying to drip a little bit of solder onto there. And we might have to just hit it with a little bit of flux. Just like that. And we're just going to kind of put it flat. Try to really kind of smooth it out a little bit more if we can on both sides. And there we go. That's looking pretty good. Just kind of tap it along. Now this is our front side. We are going to want to clean it up and get some patina onto here. So first thing, we're probably going to want to kind of make a little bit of a flat area here. Let's see. got a few different types of knives. You can kind of, at least my workspace, I use this plywood here as a workspace, and sometimes the solder droplets can kind of solidify inside of the little wood grain. So it can be a little bit tricky to get all that stuff off. And we've got quite a few little droplets on here. These are all those that are a little bit stubborn. They're kind of just on there. They're not really, you know, bonded with the window. They're just kind of a shallow connection. So we can kind of scrape those off. And a few areas need to be touched up here and there. We had some drips. And a few. And this is actually looking pretty good from the first time. We did a nice job soldering everything up. Okay. And so now we've pretty much got our panel ready to receive some patina. And that is pretty much the very last step to the process. Go ahead and turn the iron off. Once we're done, of course. Gonna grab our rag. And today we are going to be using the black patina. And there we go. Don't need the heat-resistant glove anymore. We can go ahead and take that off. I like to keep my blue gloves on. Try to avoid touching so many chemicals. And just going to kind of generously wipe on a lot of this here patina. And you can see it takes it really nicely here. Go to the back side, do the same thing. And you're going to want to make sure not to knock over your bottle. That would be a disaster. And the 50-50 solder I find actually takes the patina very well. Just doesn't get as runny and as nice looking as the 60-40. That's kind of the only downside to it. But it does definitely take the patina very well. Gets very dark. And so this is pretty much the last part of our window today. I do hope that you enjoyed it, learned a few things here and there. Again, check out that Stained Glass Mastery community if you haven't already. We've got a ton of free resources there, free patterns, including the pattern for this project today. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Here is our finished product for today. The week 1 of the September stained glass kit. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you in the next one for the week number 2 of the September kit. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.